The evening air carried the soft hum of conversation from the outdoor cafe on 5th Street. Thomas Mitchell adjusted his navy suit jacket and smiled down at his 4-year-old daughter, Emma, who sat between him and the empty chair at their small round table. Her pink tulle dress caught the warm glow of the string lights overhead, and her blonde curls bounced as she carefully cut her chicken into tiny pieces. "Slow down, sweetheart," Thomas said gently, his voice carrying the patience that comes from years of single parenthood. "Your food isn't going anywhere." Emma giggled, her blue eyes sparkling with mischief. "But, Daddy, I'm practicing my grown-up manners like you taught me." Thomas's heart warmed. At 35, he had built Mitchell and Associates from the ground up, but nothing in the boardroom had prepared him for the daily miracle of raising Emma alone. Her mother had left when Emma was barely 2, and every day since had been a lesson in love, patience, and the profound responsibility of being someone's entire world. The cafe buzzed with the gentle energy of families and couples enjoying their Friday evening. Thomas watched Emma carefully arrange her vegetables in neat rows, a habit she'd developed that never failed to make him smile. These dinner dates had become their sacred tradition. Just the two of them, talking about her day at preschool and his work in terms simple enough for a 4-year-old to understand. "Daddy," Emma said suddenly, her fork pausing midair. Her voice had grown quieter, more thoughtful. "Look at that lady over there." Thomas followed his daughter's gaze to a young woman sitting alone at a table near the cafe's edge. She appeared to be in her late 20s, with shoulder-length blonde hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore a light gray cardigan over what looked like work clothes, and her posture suggested exhaustion, the kind that settles deep into your bones. The woman, Sarah, though Thomas didn't know her name yet, sat with her hands folded in her lap, staring at the menu with an expression that spoke of careful calculation. She would pick it up, scan the prices, then set it down again. Her movements were deliberate, controlled, as if she were wrestling with a decision that carried more weight than choosing between pasta or salad. She looked sad. "Daddy," Emma whispered, her child's intuition cutting straight to the heart of things that adults often missed. And hungry." Thomas studied the woman more carefully. There was something in her careful stillness, the way she touched the menu without really looking at it, that suggested Emma might be right. In his years of business, he had learned to read people, to see beyond the surface. This woman wasn't just deciding what to eat. She was deciding if she could afford to eat. "Maybe she's just thinking, Emma," Thomas said softly, though privately he suspected his daughter's assessment was more accurate than he wanted to believe. Emma set down her fork with the decisive motion of someone who had made up her mind about something important. "Daddy, she looks hungry. Can I share my food with her?" The question hung in the evening air like the golden light from the string lamps above. Thomas felt his breath catch slightly. In all his years of teaching Emma about kindness and generosity, he had never expected such a moment to arise so naturally, so purely from her own heart. "Sweetheart," he began carefully, "we don't know her. She might not want—" "But Daddy," Emma interrupted, her voice carrying the simple logic that children possess, "you always say that when someone needs help, we help them. And she looks like she needs help." Thomas glanced again at the woman. She had finally opened the menu, but her eyes weren't moving across the pages. Instead, she seemed to be staring through it, lost in thought. Her clothes were clean but worn, her shoes practical rather than fashionable. Everything about her spoke of someone trying to maintain dignity while facing difficult circumstances. "You're right, Emma," Thomas said quietly, feeling that familiar swell of pride in his daughter's compassionate heart. "But we need to be gentle about it. Sometimes people feel embarrassed when they need help." Emma nodded solemnly, as if this was the most important lesson she had ever received. "Like when Tommy at school cried because he forgot his lunch, and I shared my sandwich, but I didn't tell anyone?" "Exactly like that," Thomas signaled the waiter, a kind-faced man in his 50s who had served them many times before. "Excuse me, James," he said quietly. "Could you please take a menu to the young lady at table 7 and tell her that her dinner tonight is taken care of? Don't mention us specifically. Just say it's from someone who hopes she has a lovely evening." James smiled with the understanding of someone who had witnessed many small acts of kindness in his years of service. "Of course, Mr. Mitchell, right away." Emma watched with wide, attentive eyes as James approached the woman's table. They saw her look up in surprise, then confusion, then something that might have been relief mixed with embarrassment. She glanced around the cafe, and for a moment, her eyes met Thomas's across the distance. He offered a small, gentle nod. Not of acknowledgement, but of simple human recognition. The woman, Sarah, felt tears prick at her eyes. She had been sitting there for 20 minutes, trying to decide if she could afford even a simple salad, knowing she still had 3 days until her next paycheck. She had walked past this cafe every day for 2 weeks, drawn by its warmth and the sound of families laughing, but never daring to come inside until tonight. "Please," James said kindly, setting a fresh menu before her, "take your time. And don't worry about the cost this evening." Sarah looked again toward the table where the man in the navy suit sat with his little girl. The child was watching her with the open, concerned expression that only children possess. No judgment, no pity, just pure human caring. "Who?" Sarah began to ask. "Someone who believes everyone deserves a good meal and a peaceful evening," James replied with a gentle smile. As Sarah finally allowed herself to truly look at the menu, to consider what she actually wanted rather than what she could afford, Emma turned back to her father with a satisfied expression. "Daddy, she's smiling now," Emma observed, cutting another piece of her chicken. "That's good, right?" Thomas squeezed his daughter's hand gently. "That's very good, sweetheart. You did something beautiful tonight?" "We did something beautiful," Emma corrected with the precision of someone who understood that kindness was always a team effort. Thomas smiled, realizing that in this simple moment his 4-year-old daughter had taught him something profound about the power of seeing others. Really seeing them, and responding with an open heart. The evening continued around them, but something had shifted. The cafe felt warmer, the conversations gentler, as if Emma's simple act of noticing and caring had created ripples of grace that touched everyone present. Sometimes the most powerful lessons come not from the wisdom of years, but from the clear, uncomplicated love of a child who sees the world not as it is, but as it could be, if we all just paid a little more attention to each other. In a world that often feels too busy for kindness, sometimes it takes the eyes of a child to remind us that noticing each other's needs and responding with love is the most important work we can do.